If you love military tech, hit subscribe to support daily videos. A historical overview of U.S.-China relations. The relationship between the United States and China has undergone significant transformation over the past century, evolving from initial isolationism and limited contact to one of the most complex geopolitical dynamics in the world. To understand the current naval standoffs between U.S. and Chinese warships in the Pacific, it is crucial to explore the history of U.S.-China relations, the strategic importance of the region, and the rise of China as a global power. Early interactions, isolationism to confrontation. The early interactions between China and the United States were shaped by mutual isolationism. The U.S. was more focused on its own continental expansion and internal development during the 19th century, while China was under the Qing dynasty, which faced internal strife and external pressures from imperialist powers. The Opium Wars 1839–1842, 1856–1860 between China and Britain, followed by the unequal treaties that China was forced to sign, marked the beginning of a period of foreign encroachment. The United States, which had initially remained on the sidelines, began to enter the Chinese market during the mid-1800s, influenced by its own imperial ambitions and the concept of manifest destiny. By the late 19th century, the U.S. had gained influence in China through trade, but China was still largely resistant to foreign dominance. However, the early 20th century saw the U.S. adopt a more active role in East Asia. After the collapse of the Qing dynasty in 1911, China was engulfed in civil war and regional conflict, with the U.S. maintaining a position of neutrality but growing interest in China's economic potential. The U.S. became involved in supporting the nationalist forces of Chiang Kai-shek during the Chinese Civil War 1927–1949 against the communist forces led by Mao Zedong. The Cold War era and the Chinese Revolution. Following the Chinese Communist Revolution in 1949, the People's Republic of China (PRC) was established under Mao Zedong, leading to a period of direct confrontation between China and the United States. The PRC aligned itself with the Soviet Union, which created a significant ideological divide during the Cold War. The U.S. government, firmly opposed to the spread of communism, provided support to the Republic of China (ROC) government, which had retreated to Taiwan after the communist victory on the mainland. In response to the communist takeover, the U.S. adopted a policy of containment, designed to prevent the spread of communism in Asia and beyond. This policy would define much of U.S. foreign policy in the Pacific for the following decades. During the Korean War 1950–1953, China's intervention on behalf of North Korea further intensified U.S.-China tensions. The conflict ended in a stalemate, but the division of Korea remained, with the U.S. maintaining a military presence in the region, especially in South Korea and Japan. In the 1960s, China's relations with the Soviet Union soured, leading to a shift in its foreign policy. The United States, under President Richard Nixon, took advantage of this opportunity to open diplomatic relations with China. Nixon's visit to China in 1972 was a landmark moment in U.S.-China relations, signaling a thaw in the Cold War-era standoff and an acknowledgement of China's growing strategic importance. Economic reforms and global integration. The most significant transformation in U.S.-China relations came in the late 20th century with China's economic reforms under Deng Xiaoping. Starting in the late 1970s, China began to open its economy to foreign trade and investment, embracing market reforms while retaining tight political control under the Communist Party. This shift, alongside the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, dramatically reshaped the global balance of power. The U.S. engaged China as an emerging economic partner, and by the late 1990s and early 2000s, China had integrated into the global economy. China's accession to the World Trade Organization (WTO) in 2001 further solidified its place as a global economic powerhouse. The relationship between the U.S. and China became increasingly interdependent, with China becoming one of the United States' largest trading partners and a major holder of U.S. debt. However, as China grew economically, it also sought to increase its military capabilities, particularly in the South China Sea and surrounding regions. As China's military modernization accelerated in the 21st century, tensions with the U.S. and its allies over issues such as Taiwan, the South China Sea, and cybersecurity also intensified. The role of naval power in the U.S.-China standoff. Naval power has played a crucial role in the U.S.-China relationship, particularly in the context of their competition for influence in the Indo-Pacific region. The U.S. has long maintained a dominant presence in the Pacific, with its military bases in Japan, South Korea, and Guam, as well as a robust fleet of aircraft carriers, destroyers, and submarines patrolling the region. The U.S. Navy has been a critical instrument in projecting American power and maintaining regional stability, especially in relation to China's growing influence. For China, the ability to project power in the Pacific is vital to its strategic interests. The Chinese Navy, People's Liberation Army Navy, or PLAN, has undergone extensive modernization in recent years, with an emphasis on expanding its fleet of aircraft carriers, submarines, and missile defense systems. The South China Sea, where China has built artificial islands and established military outposts, is a key flashpoint in the competition for regional dominance. The region is not only strategically important due to its proximity to vital international shipping lanes but also rich in natural resources, including oil and gas reserves. In this context, the U.S. Navy conducts freedom of navigation operations (FONOPs) in the South China Sea to challenge China's territorial claims and assert international law, especially the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea (UNCLOS). These operations often bring U.S. warships into close proximity with Chinese military vessels, leading to tense encounters. Naval encounters. Rising tensions in the South China Sea. In recent years, the frequency of naval encounters between U.S. and Chinese warships in the South China Sea has increased significantly. These standoffs occur as both countries seek to assert their dominance in the region, with China claiming nearly the entire South China Sea based on historical nine-line claims, while the U.S. asserts that international law should govern maritime boundaries. One of the most significant recent incidents occurred in 2021, when a U.S. Navy destroyer, the USS Curtis Wilbur, conducted a routine FONOP near the Paracel Islands, which are claimed by both China and Vietnam. In response, the Chinese military quickly responded, with Chinese warships shadowing the U.S. vessel and issuing warnings. This was just one of many similar encounters in the region, where close proximity between the two navies raises the risk of miscalculation or unintended escalation. The stakes are high because the South China Sea is a critical maritime route for global trade, with an estimated $5 trillion in trade passing through it annually. The area is also vital for its abundant fishing resources and potential underwater energy reserves. For China, controlling the South China Sea is seen as a means of asserting its regional dominance and securing its access to these vital resources. For the U.S., maintaining a free and open Indo-Pacific is central to its broader strategy of ensuring that no single power can dominate the region. The role of alliances and regional security. The U.S. also maintains strong alliances with several countries in the Indo-Pacific region, including Japan, South Korea, Australia, and the Philippines. These alliances are part of a broader strategy to contain China's rising influence and ensure a balance of power in the region. The U.S. Navy often conducts joint exercises with these allies, increasing interoperability and showcasing the collective military strength of the region. China, in response, has sought to strengthen its own alliances and expand its influence through initiatives such as the Belt and Road Initiative (BRI), which aims to build infrastructure and foster economic ties with countries across Asia, Africa, and Europe. China has also been actively courting countries in the South Pacific, offering economic and security assistance to counterbalance U.S. influence in the region. The competition for influence in the Pacific has led to an arms race, with both sides enhancing their naval capabilities. The increasing frequency of naval standoffs reflects the broader geopolitical struggle between the U.S. and China, which is not just about military superiority but also about shaping the future of global trade, security, and governance. Conclusion: a fragile balance. In conclusion, the standoff between U.S. and Chinese warships in the Pacific is emblematic of the broader geopolitical tensions between the two countries. While both sides engage in occasional military provocations, the risks of conflict are mitigated by a complex web of diplomacy, alliances, and economic interdependence. The region's stability hinges on the ability of both powers to navigate these tensions without allowing them to spiral into open conflict. As China continues to assert itself as a global power, and as the U.S. seeks to maintain its influence in the Pacific, the risk of naval confrontations will likely persist. The outcome of this ongoing rivalry will have profound implications not only for the two nations but also for the entire world, as the Pacific remains a critical theater for global power dynamics.